Hey guys, it's Brian. Welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh video. And so today I'm actually playing a updated version of the Shaddoll Invoked deck. I haven't released the previous list yet because I actually had this match today and I wanted to go ahead and give my freshest thoughts as possible. So I'll go ahead and leave that deck profile for tomorrow for what I played at the LCS. So I was actually playing Rated today, and I actually bumped into Koty Angeloff. If you're not familiar with who he is actually one of the top TCG players to have played in a long time. And so he has so many tops, and he actually has a Twitch stream at the moment. So if you haven't followed him yet, you can go ahead and check him out. If anything, it's twitch.tv/Koty Angeloff. I'll go ahead and leave it in the description below. But he was playing some form of Turbo Synchron on deck against my Shaddoll deck. And so it's a very interesting matchup, but I'm more in favor because of what my deck can do as far as wind is concerned. And without putting plenty of negations on board, I can go ahead and continue to play even with 1 or 2 negations most of the time. So, if you haven't already, leave a like and subscribe for more content in the future, and comment down below what other plays you may have made in your situation. So, we're going to be showing both hands in this video, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and give you my thought process to each play that I made. So, let's just go ahead and get right into the match. So, opening hand here, after I decided to go ahead and play first, opening hand is not the greatest, but I do have a way of getting 2 interruptions. So I go ahead and start off a Meltdown, and he decides to Ash it. And if by any chance, if you want to check out his thoughts while he was playing the game, again, you can check out his stream. This is on his stream. This was actually while he was streaming on Twitch. And I did not stream snipe. I was not even aware that he was streaming until he mentioned it. And I'm not the type of person that's going to go ahead and do that anyway. So, I start off with my A-lister after he ashes the Meltdown. So I was lucky enough to go ahead and draw Meltdown, A-lister, and Invocation. So if he had just a way to stop Meltdown and A-lister, he would have still had to deal with the Mechaba because I still had a way to get to Invocation. I still had Invocation in hand, sorry. So, starting off with with a non-negated A-lister, I go ahead and link all the way into Secure Gardener. Use Invocation to go ahead and make my Mechaba, get the A-lister back, and I set an Imperm. Now, first thing he does is starts with tuning. I can negate this, but I usually would do with my experience. I would rather just go ahead and negate the needle fiber with anything, because of the fact is that even if I were to ash the tuning, if they would have already had it in hand, it was just a bait for nothing. So I rather would just go ahead and wait it out instead of just negating the tuning. So he searches for Satellite Synchron, which I was a little bit surprised and weirded out. But reading Satellite Synchron, this card is very useful to continue to extend if they go ahead and negate, for example, a needle fiber, or if you just go ahead and if you still have Jet in graveyard, you can just go ahead and put this down as well, and you still have a way to go into other plays. So I do see it as an interesting option. And here I'm seeing he plays Danger by milling the snake. So he starts out by going into Quick Draw Synchron, discarding the jet. And here he normal summons O-Line. So from here I realize he's still gonna get a token. So I decided to go ahead and, based on what I've seen, even though he does have jet in graveyard, I decided to go ahead and try to stop both of these effects, because the fact is I want him to play out his hand, and I know he doesn't have any additional resource. So I go ahead and chain Mechabot to O-Line, because he tried to chain block so I don't ash the Needle Fiber. And here I imperm the Needle Fiber, well, Halki Fibrax, but Needle Fiber for people who still want to call it by the OCG name. So that way he doesn't get any additional effects. So he has to use Jet, discards a Call by the Grave. So that way he can go ahead and use his Satellite Synchron and special summon that as well. Goes into Link Cross and makes 2 tokens. And in my head at this point, I'm thinking I have a Dark Rule no more and an Invocation. I'm for the most part safe and have another play for the next turn if he does get over my Mechaba. So he goes into Formula, draws another Call by the Grave. Makes Metal Marcher. Brings back the Formula Synchron. Goes into Board Blocker and then goes into Megalodon. I'm sorry, Auroradon. And so he makes his 3 tokens. And instead of sacrificing the Auroradon, like most people will try and go ahead and continue to dig through their deck by gaining some more synchros, he decides to go ahead and sacrifice 3 monsters. That way he can go ahead and add a trap card from his graveyard to his hand. But I actually thought it was that, because he just went ahead and he was actually playing very fast. So he synchros into the Boral Savage and then just goes into the attack. Auroradon pops the Mechabot and he attacks me for a lot of damage, leaving me at 2,150 life points left. And a Call by the Grave. So I dropped Mathematician. I was really considering just going ahead and normal summoning it first to go ahead and kill the back row and then use Invocation. But instead I just go ahead and, after Dark Rule or no more, I decided to go ahead and use Invocation first in case that was some kind of negate, which he did have. I was still able to go ahead and have a play that was non-committed. So I go ahead and get back the Alistair to my hand with Invocation. And I normal summon Mathematician. And here I decided to send Wendy instead of going for anything else, as I wanted to go ahead and get a grind play because I know he doesn't have that many resources. So I go ahead and set the Falco. So with this, at this point, I'm thinking that my Mathematician has just enough to go ahead and keep me alive by not only allowing me to draw a card, but Falco is going to go ahead and at least provide one form of blockage, so I can go ahead and absorb an attack, because he's either going to go ahead and revive Wendy, or if he destroys it, I can go ahead and just revive Falco itself, so I still have one form of protecting myself from damage. So he draws into Chupacabra, and here he goes into Auroradon's effect, and with Auroradon's effect, he decides to go ahead and get O-Line off from the deck, normal summon the Chupacabra, and goes ahead and makes a Coral Dragon, and with the O-Line goes ahead and makes a token. So from here, he goes ahead and synchros into Croc, and he draws 2 cards from Coral Dragon and Croc's effect. So Coral Dragon does allow you to draw a card for every non-lunar you used. So he decides to go ahead and Mothman here. So I go ahead and call evens and odds. I hit the Jackalope, which goes ahead and brings him another card from his deck. And brings out Nessie. At this point, I know that the only thing that's going to really damage me is the Mothman on top of Mathematician, because he could have done the following. He could have attacked first and then popped my monster, but because he knew it was Falco, it could have just been for useless, but he could have gone ahead and got both of his effects. That way he could have just forced my hand. And so I'm already prepared for next turn with the Mathematician absorbing a hit and drawing me a card. Falco there to go ahead and provide an additional wall. And I have an A-lister, so if he doesn't have a form of negating the A-lister, I can go ahead and just pretty much take commanding position and might even go for game, depending on the situation. So here he decides to go ahead and take it to game 2. And so from here, I decide to go ahead and keep my side deck as simple as possible. I put in some DD Crows. And I was fortunate enough to draw one of them, but based on the board that he makes, it's not going to be enough to go ahead and really stop him from what he's doing. So here he goes into the Formula Synchron, draws a tuning, goes into Metal Marcher, and I probably should have just DD-coded the formula, looking back on it, but as it is, it's not really going to do much. And I do have a way of going ahead and stopping at least something and going off on my own, as long as it doesn't go any further. However, there's one thing that he does during the turn, and that's after going to Satellite Synchron with a tuning. He decides to go ahead and make something really which is going to get him cards. In this case, Librarian, get a token for O-Line. Going ahead and synchroning into the Garden Rose Maiden. Using Jet's effect. Then goes into Satellite because Jet was revived. Goes into Coral Dragon. Goes into Upstart. He's already gone through 30. I'm sorry, not 30. He's already gone through 20 cards out of both his main and extra that he's seen. Goes into Croc. And from here, he decides to go ahead and set the Pot of Avarice, so you can just go ahead and make sure he has that as a follow-up, so you can go ahead and use his danger effect. And what he does next really didn't allow me to play, because he drew into Prohibition, and he goes ahead and decides to call on Shaddoll Fusion when he does activate it. So he goes into Vermilion, makes VFD, Call Shaddoll Fusion. And from here, even with the Dark Ruler no more that I drew, it's simply not enough because I would have needed to go ahead and have a way of using Shaddoll Fusion so I can survive the turn. And then going ahead and simply just going ahead and wait it out because I do have A-lister in hand. And so I can just go ahead and just try to, if that didn't happen, to go ahead and just even try to pass him. But things weren't going my way at the moment, so he goes into Zolkin, Crystal Wing, and calls it a turn. I draw for a turn and I get Hedgehog, which wasn't going to be enough, and I decided to call game. So here I'm going first, and I go ahead and toss the Foolish Berry out first as a bait to see if he negates it. He does not, so I automatically go ahead and search for the Skomata. Go for Meltdown, go for A-lister, get the Invocation, and from here I just decide to go ahead and try and go off as much as I can. I go ahead and make Construct first. Go ahead and send Wendy and Beast. The reason I send Wendy and Beast is because first off, I do not have Rush in my deck, it's actually in my hand unfortunately. But Beast also goes ahead and allows me to go ahead and draw a card in my deck, which could possibly help me out. And in this case, I draw Mathematicians, which is not that much of a help. So I go ahead and decide to make Mechaba. Usually in this situation, I would make Raijin. But because of the fact that I really just wanted to go ahead and have a way of keeping some form of stoppage to him to his turn on board, I decided to go ahead and play up Mechaba in case he is playing Dark Ruler. And I go ahead and set the El Shaddoll. So starting out, he summons the Pankratops and decides to go ahead and normal summon 003. So when he does this, I flip up El Shaddoll so that we can go ahead and put Wind on board so that way he doesn't have any way of getting into future plays. So I get back an El Shaddoll Fusion and I get back Falco. So I was debating on whether if I should or should not have negated this, but based on what I'm seeing, I thought it was a better play to go ahead and negate and banish the 003, simply because he was going to make me waste my Alistair if I didn't. So I'd rather just go ahead and have him do that, because he was not going to go ahead and waste the Pankratops pop on Winda, since Winda can't be destroyed by my opponent's card effects. So he attacks into Mechaba, I let it go. So starting my turn now, I decided instead of going ahead and doing anything with Skomata, I decided to go ahead and flip over my Falco, and I go ahead and target Wendy. Since he let it go through, I thought that was not a call by the grave, and I wasn't really going to expect anything else except for something like a Judgment or some kind of Eldritch card. in my thought process. So I decided to go ahead and attack with Window. And I set 2 cards face down, which was the Invoked Shaddoll and the Rush. Keeping the Squamata in hand. Didn't want to go ahead and put the Squamata down in case he had some kind of evenly match where I was not going to have a response. So he goes ahead and uses Twin Twister there to pop both my back row. Luckily for me, one was Rush. So I decided to go ahead and try to use it at the last possible moment. So unfortunately for him, when he tries to go ahead and use Tsuchinoko's effect, he has 2 Pot of Avarice in hand that are literally doing nothing for him at the moment. So me sniping the Tsuchinoko at his end means that he did not get an additional card that he was not going to see. So he goes ahead and uses his Tsuchinoko to attack my Falco. And he asked to read Wendy. And there's a reason why I didn't set Falco, is because I knew Wendy was there. And because Wendy was there, even if he attacked it, I was going to get a monster. And if he didn't do it, I was going to get a monster by the end of the turn. And because he didn't have any other resources, he could probably tell the writing on the wall. He decides to go ahead and call it a day. And based on that, I could tell that he has a very great intuition with the deck he plays. He is a very thought out player, which is the reason why he got a lot of his tops, if not all his tops. And there's plenty of them. I think he even says in his Twitch bio that he has over 70 regional tops, not including the premier events like the NAWCQs, YCSs and such. So that just shows how much of an accomplished player he is and why he is such an accomplished player. Anyways, I want you to guys go ahead, and if you haven't already, like I said before, leave a like and subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh content in the future. And I hope to see you guys again next time. See ya.